someone who litigates for a living, you wouldn't think public speaking would be this challenging, but at these times they are. Eric was 13 when I was born, so my first memories of him coincide with his teenage hijinks. One of them, not being able to sleep in the middle of the summer at around 3 or 4 because of the earth-shattering noises from his cars in the driveway. The second was when my white cat became a striped cat. I didn't see this happen, but I later found out Eric spray painted the cat because, according to Eric, it was digging through trash and acting like a skunk. Shortly thereafter, Eric went off to the Navy and was living it up in San Diego on Fort McHenry traveling. I know we had an amazing time. Once I got a little older, I got to hear more of the insane exploits from his Navy career. He revealed things like priceless information that I'd use later in life, such as avoid Thunderbird with Kool-Aid at all costs, or pay the consequences. But he wasn't all party. He actually could have been one hell of a Navy recruiter. A lot of people don't know this, but when I was in 4th grade, Eric came and spoke to my class at St. Anthony. A dear friend of mine at the time, and to this day, specifically cites Eric's visit as the reason he signed up and enlisted for the Navy. He's now on his 2nd or 3rd tour. It was also in 4th grade when Eric stopped by our house with a guitar. This was an absolute game changer for Adam and I. We immediately begged our parents to get us instruments and ended up with me also getting a guitar and Adam choosing drums, and then Adam later becoming a better musician than all of us and all the instruments. Everyone in my family loves music, and I could not ask for better support from both my parents and Eric, who wouldn't hesitate to bring me and my friends along to guitar shows or show up at the house with pedals, picks, strings, all the little stuff to keep pushing us along and keep playing. Eric's support was unwavering. And when I formed bands in high school, Eric was the reason that we were able to record albums. He helped pay for the studio time, the pressings, and everything in between to make it happen. But Eric wasn't just a support in the background. He was a talented musician himself and a hell of a lyricist. One of the best things about having 2 guitarists between Eric and I, and a brother that plays drums, is that we could always have family jam sessions whenever we wanted. This would ultimately lead to what became the Liver Noise. And my junior year of high school, we cut our first record. I remember thinking the record turned out great, but wasn't really sure what to expect. A couple of weeks later, Eric shows up at the house and informs us that, oh, the record's getting played locally, in New York, and for some reason in the Netherlands. That's Eric. That was my first realization of the global reach of the relationships Eric had formed. And as I grew older, I only came to appreciate that more and more. But it was never his intention for our band to become the next Hanson or some cheesy family garage rock act. Quite the contrary, Eric was unwavering and a fervent supporter of the underdog. It wasn't his style to boast, to flaunt, or to put down others. Instead, he stayed down to earth and was genuine, caring, and compassionate to all the people he encountered. He was also unequivocally fair to anybody that he'd do business with, almost to a fault. But he knew what he was doing, and it wasn't a contrived plan, it's just how he genuinely was. Positive actions create positive reactions. And Eric's kindness and positivity eventually allowed him to loosely organize an ingenious system for him to continue supplementing his incredible record collection. When I first started buying vinyl and going with Eric to stores, it became apparent that not only did the people who worked there genuinely like Eric, but that they genuinely admired the obscure records that he was able to come by. Part of the reason Eric was able to do all this was because of how he knew to treat people. We'd go digging in some blown out areas of Detroit, and I remember going along with him telling me, put the money in the socks, this is the hood. But Eric would go into these people's houses and just be genuinely friendly and compassionate to them. And in turn, they'd show him the same type of love. And this continued to expand, and Eric was eventually able to parlay this where he had a record digging operation, several people throughout the area reporting to him, finding records, because Eric could only be at one place at one time, but there's a lot of records all over Detroit. So Eric was able to parlay that and just always treated these people with fairness, respect, and dignity. This became a lucrative enterprise for Eric, but he never did it to hoard or to become a mogul. He just continued to reinvest any money he made probably compensated anybody that he did business with all the way. He also had the same genuinely courteous and respectful approach when it came to the musicians he would meet or become introduced to. And these encounters would blossom into genuine friendships. And this was a major cross-section of musicians, ranging from Motown-era session musicians to up-and-coming garage rock bands. Some of these artists Eric would put out would eventually secure major label attention when the garage rock boom triggered an influx of suit vultures from the major labels creeping around Cass Corridor and other clubs in Detroit looking for the next big thing after the White Stripes. Throughout all this, Eric remained honest and fair with any of the dealings he worked with. And I remember questioning how he did business once, and he basically said, look, that's not how you do business. At that time, I was working for a major label and had delusions of grandeur about being Lear Cohen. Eric was like, no, that's not how we do things. And Eric bumped and defied the typical music industry nightmare to where the first label you sign with has a handcuff on you the rest of your career. Instead, with Eric, these acts that he put out their first records, he was just concerned that they had enough copies of the vinyl to go on tour with it. That's who he was. And the same principles that governed how he did business and his record trade, he did and was able to really expand this throughout the world. His record collection became a global phenomenon, and the relationships that he was able to forge with people overseas is something out of this world. And I didn't even understand how deep this was until we were at Motown A Go-Go 2, and I'm outside Bert's warehouse smoking a cigarette, and I see 6 or 7 English gentlemen start remarking about how they had run into Eric and talking very nostalgically about the day that Eric dumped a bunch of his collection on eBay. They made it sound like it was a national holiday over there. That's Eric. That's the global reach he had. And it was cool because it became full circle. And I had the opportunity when I was a little kid to show up at Eric's house on a Sunday, and there's Motown, Joey Kingfish over there, drinking liquor, playing guitar, Sunday morning, and telling stories. And I just remember the huge smile on Goob's face, and just knowing that, this is a very, very valuable and priceless experience. And I thank him for sharing that with me. And it's because of the way Eric treated people that he was able to have those types of experiences and have those types of relationships. Because you can have all the Instagram followers in the world, but it's not going to get you those experiences. Joey Kingfish isn't coming to your house if you've got 1,000 followers. It's the type and the way that Eric treated people that allowed these relationships to blossom. But for all the success of his different ventures, he never prioritized it over his family. He was instrumental in helping Adam and I become who we are today as men, musicians, and just trying to strive to be more like Eric. But he set the bar pretty damn high. And Adam and I both have our edges. And there's people that do not like either of us. But I don't think anybody I know had a problem with Eric. And I think the outpouring of love and respect really reflects this. Eric was always available to help, even in the least exciting and most aggravating times, because he was the one with the truck. I eventually learned that if I coaxed him with Mexican food and Founders All Day IPA and made it a little easier, I would not hesitate to resort to that. Thankfully, Eric's teenage hijinks also managed to wear on my parents enough to the point where all the ridiculous stuff Adam and I would do later in life didn't trigger house arrest for months at a time. It's huge, Eric. Thank you, man. And Eric wasn't only a big brother to Adam and I. He was a big brother figure to so many of our friends. And he had so many friends and people that he would meet and genuinely foster these beautiful relationships. But his love for other people and his love for his family was unlimited. And as Adam and I started our own families, and Eric became Uncle Goob, he embraced everybody. All of our wives, girlfriends, kids adored Goob. Slayton, Sebastian, Trey, Jonah, Gabriel, loved Goob. Saranda, Janelle, Lindsay, loved Goob. And Goob was great because if I was in a fight with Lindsay or there was some kind of tiff, he'd come over and immediately smooth out the situation. That's a quality I'm definitely gonna miss. But Uncle Goob just had all the love to give in the world, and he leaves a legacy of love. He leaves an amazing legacy with his music, but more important than that, he leaves a legacy that tells us that we should be genuinely compassionate to other people and caring. And we should deal and treat other people how we want to be treated and show them that type of respect, generosity, and genuine compassion. I think even though the world suffered a drastic loss with Eric's passing, we can all learn so much from how he lived. And I think we need to take that into consideration. And the more we act like Eric, the better the place the world will be. It's funny because in pure serendipity,